It's been reported that the jurors in the Karen Reed murder trial were hung on count 2, manslaughter. It's also been reported that the tiny fragments of taillight, reportedly found in the victim's clothing, played a big role for these jurors wanting to convict. But what was the real testimony?
We got testimony from another analyst, Christina, Hanley. Pieces of red and clear plastic that were microscopic in size that were found within Mr. O'Keefe's clothing. The same pieces of plastic contained within the defendant's taillight. Now, starting with item 7-18.18.
So 7-18.18 scrapings, trace material recovered from the victim's clothing.
And those particular items, as far as the debris, that was provided to your unit within the lab by whom?
I believe it was Maureen.
Maureen Hartnet testified she scraped debris from the victim's clothing into a container. No pictures of this debris are introduced, nor do we hear testimony about what part of the clothing was scraped. There's also no testimony from this person, who actually examined the clothing, about anything embedded in the clothing.
In addition to those, I also took a scraping of each of the materials, and that involves taking the item, using something like a flat metal spatula, and scraping down whatever adhering materials left on the item into a glassine packet.
Noted that there was some clear plastic material, as well as some red plastic material.
Do we need the exact measurements? Apparently we do.
An inch by 1/16 of an inch.
The measurements are the sheep that we are counting.
1/16 of an inch by less than 1/16 of an inch.
Evidence technicians Christina Hanley and Ashley Vallier testified about the pieces of red and clear plastic, but neither could confirm that they were ever embedded in a shirt.
You've already testified to consisted of several pieces of red apparent plastic and one piece of clear apparent plastic that measured 1/8 of an inch by 1/16 of an inch. Is that accurate?
Okay, so there were several pieces of red apparent plastic and then one piece of clear apparent plastic measuring approximately 1/8 of an inch by 1/16 of an inch. Yes.
Okay. And I apologize.
I'm very frustrated because we have heard there was glass and plastic on the victim's clothing, but we have not seen photos of the scrapings, and that is frustrating to me. We have not seen, like, it would all be scraped into a container, and we have not seen any photos of the container.
So when those several pieces of apparent red plastic and one piece of apparent clear plastic came into your possession, those pieces were obviously not embedded in either shirt when you examined them, correct?
I don't know. I didn't examine the shirt.
Well,
right.
So to my question,
right,
the pieces that you saw were not embedded in a shirt when you examined them, correct?
They were not in a shirt.
And again, that's because you never took possession of any shirt in this case, correct?
Correct.
Here is D.A. Lally arguing against a directed verdict, and one of his arguments is the red and clear pieces of plastic.
You have the microscopic pieces of the defendant's taillight, which was testified by Ms. Hanley to be consistent with pieces of the taillight from the defendant's vehicle that are within or embedded within Mr. O'Keefe's clothing.
Here it is, one more time, what the actual testimony was.
So to my question,
right,
the pieces that you saw were not embedded in a shirt when you examined them, correct?
They were not in a shirt.
And again, that's because you never took possession of any shirt in this case, correct?
Correct.
So even though we have loose association between the pieces of plastic and them being embedded in the clothing, it's still asked about to all the defense expert witnesses. The defense doesn't object nor challenge the foundation for this evidence.
Now, at any point in time were you made aware that there were microscopic pieces of the defendant's taillight as small as 1/16 of an inch by 1/16 of an inch that were found in Mr. O'Keefe's clothing?
I don't remember that specifically.
Were you aware that there were microscopic pieces of red and clear plastic about 1/16 of an inch by 1/16 of an inch that were recovered from Mr. O'Keefe's clothing that were then found to be consistent with the taillight?
No, I don't believe so.
And there was also pieces of approximately 1/16 of an inch by 1/16 of an inch of clear and red plastic that was subsequently found to be consistent with the defendant's taillight that was found embedded within Mr. O'Keefe's shirts.
Within the shirt, I believe, yes, sir. not his actual body.
The measurements are the sheep that we are counting.
In closing arguments, one of the last thing Lally mentions is the microscopic pieces, 1/16 of an inch by 1/16, and even though he gets cut off, it's one of the last things the jury hears. If the defense had known this would be something the jury held on to, and almost convicted Karen Reed of manslaughter from, would they have treated it differently?
You have the testimony from Ms. Vallier and Ms. Hanley in regards to the microscopic pieces, 1/16 of an inch by 1/16.
You have 1 minute, Mr. Lally. Wrap it up.
Yes, Your Honor.
Wrap it up.
All consistent with pieces of taillight that are found within his clothing.